Great. I think numbers are starting to pile up now, so we'll get started. Just wanted to say thank you so much for joining us today. Welcome to today's webinar. We're going to be focusing on how we're seeing augmented reality disrupting the future of retail. Just to quickly introduce myself, I'm Charlie Levine and I head up client services at Poplar Studio. Firstly, just for some quick housekeeping, if you've got any questions at all, please just pop them in the Q&A box at the bottom of the screen. And we're going to leave lots of time at the end for you to put in any questions that you have. So, if we just want to put the presentation back up for everyone to see. I'm really excited to introduce you to our wonderful guest speakers that we've got here today. We have David Ripper, the CEO and co-founder of Poplar Studio. We have Stacey Bocknick, who's developer and platform partnerships at Facebook. We have Claudia and Yulia that are joining us from Made.com. And we also have Abigail Taverner from Sotheby's too. Before I hand you over to David to lead the panel discussions with this wonderful group, I just wanted to dive in and talk about some of the most exciting trends that we're seeing in retail today. But firstly, who is Poplar Studio? So we are a global leader in providing 3D and AR solutions on demand across all channels. We pride ourselves on being able to take any brand asset, develop them into 3D and AR assets, and deploy them across all social and e-commerce platforms. You can see on the right here, there's a selection of some of the brands and clients that we're fortunate enough to work with, and joined by two of them today. So we focus on creating both marketing and e-commerce specific experiences. On the marketing side, as you can see on the following slide, it includes things like face filters, world lens, mini games, portal experiences. And that's across all social platforms, web AR, and also applications too. On the e-commerce side of things, we've created tools that empower customers to be able to visualize products in 3D and be able to try on products through AR as well. So you can see a video on the right of one of the tools that we've created that can be embedded into our brand and retailers' sites to truly allow customers to try before they buy. Now onto some really quick trends that we've observed over the past year that are going to shape the future of retail. And the current status that we're seeing today, if we look back over 2020 and the period of COVID, is a decline in global retail sales. So whilst it's declined 3% in 2020, we've seen a huge increase in retail sales through digital channels. So we're now seeing 30% of retail sales through digital, whereas in 2019, that was at 14%. And at one point in 2020, we were seeing 70% of sales through digital channels. And in H1 2020, we saw 5 years of online growth in a matter of weeks, which is just astronomical. But we're also seeing growth in social channels as well. So 186% growth in orders from social channels. And finally, since COVID, with the shift to contactless shopping, 1 in 2 customers are now interested in trying AR shopping. I think what's become really clear here is that customer behavior has changed. Customers are now completely digitally enabled. And there is a huge number of new customers that are now purchasing on digital channels too. So if we go on to trend 1 of 4, there's been a record number of online sales over the past 12 months. And despite it being a pre-existing trend, COVID has just accelerated that shift towards a much more digital world. And it's not just the typical Gen Z and millennials that you think would be driving this trend, but it's also older shoppers too. So according to a survey by Shopify, they found that 84% of consumers shopped online during the pandemic, which is nearly 150 million new shoppers, new online shoppers. So as you can see, e-commerce as a percentage of global retail sales is just going to continue to grow. And the number of e-commerce buyers is also going to continue to grow. And I think one of the main reasons why this is the case is because customers have realized online shopping is really easy, it's really convenient. And this is helped by the integration of AR tools to create that seamless and frictionless experience. So innovative experience could be things like virtual showrooms, augmenting product packaging, and just providing a lot more of an immersive format. And the level of engagement and personalization that you can get through these experiences, you just can't compare to standard video formats or 2D formats. So here is an example of Machine A and the Institute of Digital Fashion, and they partnered together to create this virtual showroom that users can explore at their own will. You can view collections, you can view unfinished pieces, personalized messages from designers sharing their inspiration, and you can do things that you just wouldn't be able to incorporate into a store to really help people build that connection with your brand. And I think that's why AR is so amazing, because it helps brands tell stories in an emotive and a genuine way to offer that interaction and discovery, and really helps create that desirability. If we go on to trend 2, social commerce is on the rise. So we consider social commerce to be the ability to purchase directly from within a social media site. Almost a quarter of UK shoppers now use social media to discover and buy products. And I think historically, search engines have really driven that brand discovery. But since COVID, we're seeing that the landscape has dramatically changed. So in 2020 alone, we saw TikTok and Shopify had a partnership, the expansion of Snapchat native stores, and the launch of Facebook and Instagram shops. And we're seeing that social commerce is predicted to grow by 35% in 2021, which will be about 90 million users. And through social commerce as well, we're expecting about 37 billion worth of sales. So brands really need to be considering social media as the viable revenue stream, and also have experiences that make the brand stand out and be noticed amongst competition. One way that you can really stand out is to create engaging social filters that allow customers to be able to try products on. So you can see here a couple of examples on the left that Poplar Studio has created with NYX Cosmetics and Charlotte Tilbury to really be able to let you try products on, see what it looks like on your skin complexion. With the likes of Pinterest and Instagram, you can now be able to purchase directly through the try-on filter as well. And hopefully we'll hear more about that from Stacey during the panel. And onto the next slide, please. I think this trend is really, really imperative, because experiential is going to be essential to the future of stores. When we saw lockdown get released, non-essential stores reopened, footfall was still significantly down from 2019. And this is an early indicator that changes in consumer behavior is actually going to stick. John Lewis now aims to have 70% online to store in the next 3 years. But although the high street may be down, it's definitely not out. The store will decline, but it will never disappear. And businesses are just going to be forced to reconsider how they set up shops. It's going to be really key to distinguish stores from online retailers, and they can do that by providing unique in-store experiences. So there's a real opportunity for retailers to start innovating within this physical space and use AR here. So there's a couple of examples that I've included here that really resonate and have had really, really amazing results. So we worked on a virtual try-on experience for Speedo, which is the top left image. And it actually led to people being 11 times more likely to buy as a result of this tool. You can also see in the middle, there's virtual mirrors and dressing rooms. Are people actually going to be comfortable enough going into fitting rooms once lockdown's over and trying on clothes? Or is there going to be a whole new way to try on clothes by holding them up against a mirror and seeing yourself in that mirror? And then the example on the right, so being able to scan 2D billboards and bring them to life within a store environment, being able to interact with that experience whilst you're in the store. And then the example on the bottom for Lego was a really, really interesting example of having a completely empty room and being able to scan the snap code and creating a Lego AR immersive store. AR experiences deliver supercharged dwell times, engaging users for 10 times longer than traditional channels. And finally, trend number 4 AR becomes absolutely key to go-to-market plans. I think we've all seen that COVID has rapidly accelerated the growth in AR. And they've been known to really improve brand engagement with longer dwell times, but also provide contextual data so you can track really granularly and really get to understand customer behavior and measure the success of that activity. So we've created a number of tools that you can start to implement within your website in order to help that product visualization and let people try before they buy at home. And I think with things like digital advancements in surface detection, lighting estimation, and relevant scale of products, it means that you can get a really realistic view of products within your own home. So you can see on our product visualization tool on the right here, it's been proven to drive longer browsing time, higher conversion rates, and also fewer returns. And Shopify's been reporting that 3D models in AR increase conversion rates by up to 250%. So AR is proving to be a great tool to understand which items will also suit you best, increasing that confidence in your purchasing decision. So with 3D, we can get to the granular detail of the texture and the zip and how the buttons look and the feeling of the cloth just through 3D assets. And Gucci integrated a shoe try-on into their application with Warner, and they saw new users increase 3 times, session time increased 5 times, and conversion to store from try-ons was greater than 25%. And you can see the video on the right is the tool that Poplar Studio had created, where you can purchase directly from the tool and be able to try on a number of different products. So in summary, retail is being hugely disrupted. It's key to be thinking digital. It's key to be thinking innovative digital AR solutions. And I'm now going to pass over to David, who's going to be chairing our panel for today, to talk about some of the ways that our clients and partners are seeing AR and disrupting retail.
Thanks a lot, Charlie. That was a great presentation. And to answer one of the questions in the Q&A, yes, this will be shared. It's being recorded and will be shared by the team afterwards. So no worries, no need to write everything down. We'll share that with you. So very excited to join another stellar panel around the subject of XR and retail, and in particular AR for today. So I'll just ask you, if you're okay with that, to introduce yourselves quickly, starting with Claudia.
Hi, I'm Claudia. So I look after our global events and activations at made.com, which obviously traditionally is an area which involves a lot of real consumer interaction. So it's been super exciting to be able to try a few more digital experiences over the past year.
Thanks.
And I'm Yulia. I'm the global social media manager at Made. So we've been looking at AR, specifically its use cases on Facebook and Instagram for a while. So it's really great that we've gotten to experiment a little bit with that last year.
Stacey, next on my screen.
Sure. Hi, my name is Stacey Bocknick. I work at Facebook out of our Paris office on the platform partnerships team with the main focus on our Spark AR product. And the main objective of our team is to kind of be the bridge between the developers, startups, and agencies like Poplar who are building on our platform and the product team. So working closely with these partners in the field, bringing back product feedback, maybe testing some new features, and really getting a handle on how our main creators are using the Spark product, just so we can keep improving.
Hi everyone, my name's Abby. I'm the European head of social media here at Sotheby's, the auction house, and we've been working with Poplar and with AR to try and bring artworks and fascinating objects and all the amazing things we work with to people at home while you can't come into our galleries.
Thank you, everybody. So I think we're going to show a few examples for each of the companies, and then maybe if you're okay with that, you could talk over them and explain how that experience came about and what involved. So starting, I think, with made.com.
Cool. So yeah, so I'll talk about the activation as a whole and pass over to Yulia on the filter, which is on the right-hand side. So we, for coronavirus, obviously, as I was saying before, we usually rely quite heavily on in-person events. So what we experienced this year with the pandemic resulted in us really rethinking how we present our products to our customers and to the media. So we launched Made's first virtual See Now Buy Now experience, which was basically to showcase our autumn-winter 20 collections. So what we did was we dressed a real apartment, so an 800-meter squared apartment in our Amsterdam showroom just above it, with all of our newest collections, all highlighting different design directions, different design themes in each room. And then once set up, we shot it in standard 2D, but on top of that, we also shot it in 3D to create a brand new virtual world. So here you can see people moving through the space, but in essence, you could move through the space, click on the products, learn all about the stories behind them. And then this was available in 6 languages. So it was huge in reach, but obviously being 3D, we only had to set it up once. And on top of it, we also had a VR element. So everybody who visited our showrooms, or a few people got sent out like Google Cardboard goggles, so they could actually experience it in VR as well. So it really extended beyond beyond the traditional 2D shoots that we're able to do, which is awesome. And then on the filter, I'll pass over to Julia.
And to really complement the virtual experience of the apartment, we wanted to create something that builds onto it and really driving brand awareness and consideration for those autumn 20 products and collection and the virtual apartment experience as a whole. So we wanted to connect with customers in a really contextually relevant, but also really fun and enjoyable way. So we worked with Poplar to develop this concept. And we really wanted to make people feel as if they're able to visit the virtual apartment from the comfort of their sofas and without having to leave Instagram, and ultimately share the experience to their followers as well. The way we built this is, and the way it works is that fans can look through a portal into the apartment or switch to selfie mode where they'll be virtually placed inside the space and explore each room in 360. So you begin the experience in your back camera, which places that portal in your room containing a look through. And you can pick between the different rooms as well, which you can explore. And the scene moves in correspondence with the user's device to make you feel as if you're really there. You then prompt it to turn back to selfie mode. So using Spark AR's native picker, again, you're able to switch between different rooms, which are also depicted in 360. And when you select one of these rooms, your background changes and you're able to kind of move and really creating that sense that you're in this space and present. We wanted to add a little bit of an interactive, reactive element to this effect. So when someone smiles, there's a color wash overlay, which is again different to each room and that color theme. And it's quite an ambitious project, but our goal is really to make it really easy for people to use and super shareable. So it really helped that we partnered up with actual experts to create a really seamless user experience.
Thanks a lot, Claudia and Julia. I'll have some questions after that, but I think we'll move on to Sotheby's next.
Great, yes, here it is. This is Botticelli's portrait of a young man holding a roundel. So this was an AR filter which we launched on Instagram earlier this year, and it was to coincide with the auction of this magnificent work of art. Botticelli, if you don't know much about art or the art world, you may still have heard of Botticelli. If you've ever been to Florence, you may have a mug or an apron or a tea towel with Botticelli's Primavera or the Birth of Venus on it. So he really is a well-known name both in the art world and beyond. So the reason we chose this artwork to kind of launch our first Instagram filter was that Botticelli already has that kind of commercial and renowned name. So we really thought it was something that would appeal to a large sort of subsect of users. This painting in particular is really, really special. We first found out about it towards the end of last year in the social team, and we started thinking immediately about what we could do that was slightly different and exciting to bring this work to as many people as possible. It's a 15th century painting, so it's very old. It's painted decades before the Mona Lisa. And Botticelli really was one of the great masters of the Renaissance. This is one of his most spectacular portraits. only about 12 of his portraits have survived, so this is incredibly rare. And when it went up to auction, it had an estimate in excess of $80 million, and it actually sold for $92.2 million. So it was a really fantastic artwork that we wanted as many people as possible to be able to see up close, to sort of really get to grips with it, to see what it might be like hanging on their wall at home. So that is why we approached Poplar on this occasion. And the way the filter works was it had made a front and a back camera, which had a slightly different view. So the view that you can see here is the back camera, and that allows you to hang the portrait on your wall at home and to sort of zoom in to the details. We were really impressed actually how sort of in detail you can really get. You can see all sort of the hairs and the texture of the paint. It was amazing. And then when you flip it to your selfie camera, you can take a selfie with the work. You can have it behind you. So I spent a lot of time doing that, and it was a lot of.
I think we're getting some connection issues, or thanks, Abigail. Maybe we'll move on to Stacey now.
Sure, thanks. And just a shout out to both Made.com and Sotheby's. I had a lot of fun testing both those effects on Instagram. A really, really great experience. And obviously, kudos to Poplar for helping create them. What I wanted to just show some of how we at Instagram and Facebook are thinking about AR for commerce. What I personally love about AR within a commerce or retail experience is that it really puts consumers at the center of the shopping experiences, and just really brings to life multiple stages of the customer journey, whether it be discovering new products to increasing buyer confidence and eventually making a purchase. So one thing that we have really doubled down on is shopping within Instagram itself. I'm sure you all heard that earlier this year we launched Instagram Shops, and since then we've really been thinking about how we can bring AR try-ons and AR shopping within the Instagram shop experience. And so earlier this year, we launched an alpha program specifically within the beauty vertical, where you could go onto a beauty brand's Instagram shop, click on one of the products, and then try it directly on inside the app. And then there would be an additional CTA or a call to action where you can actually go to the retailer's website and finalize the purchase. I would say within Instagram, and our face tracking capabilities are really good. And so as you can see in this reel here, we have a lot of brands building try-on capabilities for beauty and cosmetics, also with glasses that involve face tracking. And we really hope to continue building on these use cases within Instagram Shops for things like clothing try-ons, furniture try-ons. We're really at the start of this journey in retail, and we will continue to invest in this space.
Thanks a lot, Stacey, and everybody else on that. I guess just to rebound, I mean, we're talking a lot about social right now, but of course, XR and retail can be many other types of experiences. You can use web AR, you can use different types of apps. I mean, it used to be really hot to have a dedicated app for a brand. I guess now it's more around social and web. So we're starting to talk more and more about social AR commerce. I mean, it's not that new, but the social AR piece, I guess, of the commerce piece is new. Do we see that as being the future of social media, Stacey? I mean, how important, I don't think it's a pivot, but how important is that becoming? And then also looking at the influencer marketing side of things, if you start joining up the influencer marketing with AR try-ons and the shops, it becomes quite a magical thing that you can't really necessarily do on other types of apps or platforms.
Sure. So I think personally, I like to think of AR within retail in two different ways. The first being augmenting an existing retail experience in store that people might be very familiar with, and kind of sharing that experience across social. An example I can give that I really like is the other, I guess maybe 2 years back now, Starbucks did a really great activation around Christmas where they their pivotal moment each year around the holidays is like the holiday cup. And so everyone kind of waits to see what the new design of the cup will be. And they brought that retail experience to life using Spark AR, where you could unlock animations and a really fun AR experience by scanning the cup with your phone in store. The second is, I guess what we've seen since the start of the pandemic and being more remote is bringing the retail experience to the virtual space and kind of replacing an experience that you would get in store and bringing it online by way of virtual showrooms, like we've seen with certain cosmetics companies that they've done in the luxury sector here in France over the last year. And I really think that they go hand in hand. I don't think AR is set out to replace the retail experience, but rather just create a new way of sharing products across channels, a new way of engaging with people. And then to your point, David, with influencers, we're still very much at the early days here at Facebook in terms of AR as an advertising product, but we've seen a lot of positive signal in some of the work that we've already done in this space, and we're going to continue investing. But I absolutely think that it really changes the game, like not only having an influencer show what they're using, but having their audience be able to try it on themselves. It just improves the experience and removes friction for the brand along the journey. And I'm really excited to see how this develops over the next months and years.
Thanks for that. And because I want to make it interactive, we have a few questions coming in. So a question from William, just to rebound on that. Very quickly, I don't know if you can share, but do you have any timing on Facebook, Instagram, AR commerce beyond the beta?
No, sorry, I don't have any exact specifics on timing when we would, open it out. But I do know that this is a big priority for the team. We're investing heavily in commerce as a focus for AR. So whether it's improving the current tracking capabilities that we have, eventually being able to do hand tracking, foot tracking, body tracking for clothing try-ons, and then eventually opening up the Instagram shop experience to other partners. This is something that we're all very excited about. So, okay,
thanks, Stacey. We'll come back to you on that. There's another question for Claudia, Julia, and Abigail on the approval process. I guess internally, because it's can be seen as experimental, or it's maybe a one-off or something new that a brand retailer might be doing. What was the process internally around getting those AR experiences approved? Was it difficult, and how did you go about the budget approval?
Yeah, I'm happy to begin there. We're really lucky here at Sotheby's because we have the most amazing team of specialists in a whole range of departments. And our Old Masters department, who were responsible for this Botticelli, are a lot of fun, and they're really experimental and always sort of looking for new ways to bring old master paintings, which is sort of pre-18th century paintings, to new, younger audiences, and just to share their love of the subject with everybody. So the approval process there was actually really easy. We came up with this idea. We've been talking to you guys at Poplar for a little while, and we went to the team there in New York and suggested this, and they were all on board right away. I think one other thing where perhaps we as an auction house maybe differ to some other retail spaces is that we also represent the sort of we represent our clients as well. So obviously the artworks that we sell are owned by somebody. So we need to make sure that we also present them in the way that best suits all parties. I think with this particular Botticelli, we were all really excited about the filter. There was at one moment early on, Charlie, you may remember, where we were experimenting slightly with maybe face swapping. So you could put your face in the roundel or in the face of the man, which was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it a lot. But actually, we decided that because this was a $92 million painting, and it really has that gravitas, and it's so important, and it's really by one of the great masters of the art history, we really wanted to maintain that gravitas within the filter and to present it in a way that sort of protected that while also allowing people to interact with it, which I think we managed and we achieved perfectly, and the result was fantastic.
Claudia and Julia?
Yeah, so on our side, relatively similar. This was obviously quite a different experience for us. Traditionally, obviously, like I said before, we are an online business, but our offline experiences did make up a big part of our marketing. For us, this experience sat on desktop. I think Yulia maybe can fill in afterwards, but the main functionality of this experience led on desktop. And I think what we wanted to do was create an experience that then led with mobile, and you could then forward on and share. So what we were missing initially was that shareability aspect because it led with desktop. So we, I think, had the flex on the sign off because it had quite a clear objective, which was like, we need the usability on desktop, but we need that shareability on top. And so for us, I think that's what we led with.
Yeah, totally. And I think the nature of the AR experience as well really complemented the sort of the user journey on site. So it didn't feel like a separate project, it all worked together really nicely. And I guess we're quite lucky that our team and the way that budgets are being allocated is very much like open to experimentation. So if there's a relatively new tool available that we can prove works, it's quite easy for us to secure the budget. But yeah, having that link from the experience to your objective and what it leads to and what you want people to do was really key in kind of securing that.
Thank you. And in terms to rebound on budget question, I guess to talk about challenges a little bit on the AR side. So usually you need a 3D model or you need some assets, and oftentimes brands that are used to doing other types of media formats like video, display ads, and others will have photos, or they might be creating videos, but they won't necessarily have the 3D model. I mean, in furniture, I guess you do have CAD models at the design phase, but oftentimes we agencies find it not that straightforward to convert a CAD immediately to an AR compatible format, especially on mobile like Instagram and others, because the file sizes need to be a bit more restricted so that consumers don't buffer and have a seamless experience. So there's quite a lot of work on our end to be able to convert those into AR functional files. So how does it work on the Made.com side in terms of the inventory? Because you have quite a lot of inventory, and thinking about AR and the future of retail, are you already thinking about virtualization or, building these 3D models?
Yeah, certainly. So again, we're in a good position that we have a good chunk of our catalog available as 3D models. So we have a tool called View in Your Room to help our customers visualize products pre-purchase on our website. It started off as only available on iOS and our app, but we've now rolled it out onto web for both Android and iOS. And it effectively allows you to drop a 3D model of that made product into your space and see what it looks like. You can move it around and really sort of like see how it works within your entire home. It works really well for smaller pieces. So for example, like accessories, chairs. When it comes to sofas, it's quite difficult to find the empty space to place that. But we've seen a really strong adoption rate. So we're looking to double the coverage of products available in 3D by end of this year. And this was entirely built in-house, the 3D viewer.
Amazing, thanks. Abigail, I mean, that's probably even harder to get a hold of these pieces and get them digitized. How does that work?
Yeah, it's really interesting actually, because this is something that we're considering at the moment. We have quite a few auctions coming up where we're looking to sort of make AR filters and out of property that isn't flat art like the Botticelli. And we actually didn't realize how easy we had it with the Botticelli until we came up with perhaps something that's a little more 3D. I can't give too many details away because it's all a bit secretive over here. But yes, it's a conversation that I'm having with your team at the moment on then how we have that extra added step that we overcome the 3D modeling, which isn't something that we've done before. So I can report back to you on that in a few weeks' time if it's successful.
Sure, thanks.
I was going to say, I think with our filter, we didn't actually need to do that many models because we shot 3D 360-degree imagery. So that was also quite an easy way to get around it, was that our worlds were created through imagery, which was, I think, quite a good kind of bridge between the two.
And to create that like bridge even more, so when you use the experience in back camera and you place the portal, we could have used any kind of portal, but we decided to utilize one of our 3D models. So we use one of our floor length mirrors to act as that portal and sort of as a window that allows you to see through the space.
And of course, there's always the balance between having an easy, simple user experience, especially for first-time users of augmented reality, versus something a bit more complex. And Stacey, also curious about, I mean, you're not selling products as far as I know yourself directly, but I guess brands are going to be looking for more and more realism in terms of products and how to visualize them versus, low poly and sort of smaller file sizes. Right now, there's a couple solutions that volumetric capture, but you need to have the products physically scanned in a studio. You have things like apps that help convert 2D to 3D. I guess they're not perfect at the moment in terms of you still need to work a lot on the model afterwards, or building from scratch, as we've been discussing. How's Facebook thinking about that in terms of that pipe? Because it's certainly a challenge for retailers.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we recognize the fact that for SMBs, like having the skills to build 3D models on Spark is a bit of a challenge at the moment. And so to combat this, like we're investing in new products that like will hopefully come to light very soon, that will hopefully make it easier for novice creators, but also retailers to import 3D catalogs of their products into Spark. We also try and integrate with tools that many AR designers are already using, like Sketchfab and Blender for 3D modeling, so they can import that directly into Spark Studio to build effects. And we're really trying to democratize the AR creation process. Last month, we just we announced that we have a blueprint course, which is Facebook's online learning course. So we have a blueprint course now available for Spark AR for SMBs that wanted to maybe upskill themselves a little bit. Certainly, it's not necessarily quite at the level that paying an experienced agency like Poplar or other companies out there would be, but we're investing in making that one day feasible.
Great, thank you. Very interesting question from Hannah. Hi, Hannah, how are you? Do you have advice around messaging to users, what the payoff is? And I think that's also a question, I guess, related to success metrics. So maybe a double question there is how you would explain the added value to your consumer using the AR experience. And then on your side, maybe what other types of success metrics you're looking at in terms of what you want to get out of it.
So I think there's also two parts to this. It's the value for retailers and investing on Spark, and then there's the value for users. I mean, on the user end, like we see really high engagement across AR effects. They're engaging, they're interactive, they're fun, and especially when it comes to 3D models and try-ons, once people kind of get their first experience in unlocked, I think it kind of speaks for themselves and for itself, in the sense, like if you're able to visualize a sofa in your living room, that's real to scale, that you don't have to, leave your house to go see it in person, where you have like really great texture and you're able to get a really great sense of what that sofa looks like. That provides extreme value for someone. So on the user end, I think it's just a question of like changing user behavior, getting people more used to AR as a technology that's not only here to stay, but really oriented towards the future. In terms of brands, like the value add, I think there's two parts to this. So especially with COVID right now, where a lot of us are indoors, I think AR is a great alternative to a lot of the out-of-home campaigns that many retailers were doing to increase awareness and consideration by building like fun branded experiences on Spark that really build a connection with the consumer. And for that, at least, you can measure ROI in terms of reach, impressions, shares, opens. Like these are kind of the basic organic metrics that you can track. We also have an AR ads product where instead of like clicking on an ad and being taken off platform to a retailer's website, you can actually be driven directly into an AR experience. And once the consumer has engaged with that effect, they can then be taken to the retailer's website. And for that, we're able to measure a little bit more in terms of like typical digital paid performance. But I think it depends on your objective. If it's to drive sales and drive purchases, then AR ads is kind of the way to go and test that out. But if it's to really much more of a brand awareness or just building connections with consumers, I think the value is really high for brands to do this.
Thanks. Do you concur, Abigail, Claudia, Julia? What are the things you're looking at in terms of success metrics? And I don't know.
I think for us, we didn't really know what to expect because this was our first AR filter, our first venture into this world. So for us, it was a lot of fun, and we weren't sure sort of what our success metrics should be. And I think going forward, we will be able to benchmark quite successfully against what we happened with the Botticelli. But for us, this was definitely a success. So this filter had 197,000 impressions, which is a lot more than one of our usual Instagram posts. So the reach there was really important, and it really did the job for us. I think as well, so 6,000 people took a picture and a video using this filter, and 1,000 of those people shared it, which is amazing. I don't know a time where 1,000 people have shared one of our Instagram posts. So that was a really great success for us. Not only that, it was nice as well that it was picked up a little bit in the tech community as well. I think DigiDay ran a nice piece actually called Sotheby's and Saatchi Art show augmented reality's growing usefulness to the art world. And for us, we're a 276-year-old institution, and innovation and adaptation is central to our history. But to be covered by, some of the most respected publications in the technology sphere is really great for us as well. And I hope that we can see more of that as we continue to innovate and to take on these new features with the help of Poplar as well.
Thanks.
So for us, we have a few different metrics. I think for the campaign as a whole, it's usually about like a CPM, so a classic, how much did it cost you to reach the number of people? So for that, the reach is really important. I completely second what Abigail said in the way that having an interesting tech angle definitely generated a huge amount more press and social coverage than it might have done otherwise. So for us, the metrics are reach in total, number of pieces of coverage, and then obviously a number of people that actually did the experience.
And how do you explain the added value for, the people that are on your website or using the app, etc.? Because you have the button to try out a piece of furniture, for example, at home. Do you already need to educate them right there, or you're just kind of, right now you're just seeing what the impact is, and you know what I mean?
Yeah. So I think if we just go back to the example of like our showrooms, so our showrooms are a pivotal part. I think we are an online business first and foremost, so showrooms will always be a key part of our journey. But to answer your question, I think I was speaking anecdotally to our head of tech innovation the other day, so the guy that leads all of our 3D solutions, and he was saying when we were in the showrooms, we were realizing that people were coming in a lot to do a few actions. One of them was to measure up. Obviously, there are a number of other reasons people come to our showrooms, and that wouldn't be the only reason. But he was thinking, how can we use a 3D or a kind of modeling solution to help people with their measuring? So then what that team did was create a kind of 360-degree measuring tool where on a few of our products, they can kind of pick up the product, drag it around, see all the measurements and see where it fits. So it just eliminates the reason for people to need to come into our showroom. So in that respect, I think it adds value because it makes life easier for certain things. Some people will always want to come in and sit and touch, but for the things that are a little bit less exciting, like the measuring, we can reduce that and eliminate it by, successful 3D modeling.
Right.
And to add to that as well, I think there's the sort of global element to creating these experiences, because as opposed to a physical event where, yes, you can talk about this on social, it's so much more impactful to involve your customer and your fans to take part in it. And I think that this really achieves that. So without having to leave the app necessarily, you get to experience what you would, very similar to what you would if you were to attend one of our press shows, for example.
Yeah, Julia, that's really interesting. I don't know whether we're going to talk about this in a little bit, David. I don't want to sort of jump the gun, but That's really interesting, because I think for us in particular as well, we don't have a sort of inventory of Botticellis to offer people. So the number of people buying isn't really the metric that we're after. But it was really interesting what you were saying there, that, you know, it's the number of people who then get to interact with this artwork and to see it. I mean, if we weren't in a pandemic, I think there would have been queues around the block to see an artwork like this. It's a museum quality work. The Botticelli had been shown in the Met, in the RA, it had been in the National Gallery, and it actually did have queues through our galleries when it was on view for a short number of days here in London. And actually, you know, the filter allowed us then to reach those people who perhaps then couldn't come and see it because of the pandemic, and it just really enabled us to show it to as many people as possible at a time where personal interaction isn't really possible.
So I'm not going to assume that the end buyer of that piece was trying it at home through the Instagram filter, but who knows, maybe.
I'd love to claim that.
But so maybe to go back to made.com, we have a couple of questions around this, but I was going to ask you anyway, because other metrics, we're talking a lot about marketing right now, but of course, you know, AR for marketing is huge, but there's also the whole AR for commerce side. So in terms of measuring sales conversion, is that something that you already have some results on, or you're able to confirm, okay, you know, 3D AR visualization can drive conversion? And I was chatting to other people about that last week, but I guess after COVID, it's a world where you don't necessarily see yourself going back to a traditional retail store, going into a changing room, getting naked, trying on some clothes. That seems really antiquated to me right now. I don't know why. Or, you know, maybe sitting on a couch or on a mattress or whatnot also might seem a bit scary to people, even if they're vaccinated, going back to that world. So do we feel, one, today that you're seeing conversion? And do you feel that's going to be an important tool to get conversion in the future?
Yeah, totally. I think from Made.com's perspective, the reason we're looking to increase the coverage of our products available in 3D is because we do see that uplift in purchase. I think also going back to social commerce, like the AR filter we created for the virtual apartment was very much a brand awareness piece. So we weren't measuring sales as a result of this. But we're now running another Facebook ad AR project, actually in collaboration with Facebook, which helped us develop this. But it uses the augmented reality camera effect. So it lets you, again, place products in your room. We've chosen from a catalogue of best-selling pieces. So really kind of striking images. And we're testing a few hypotheses as well with the messaging to see what people react to. So whether it's around the style, it's like around the type of product, and you are able to kind of interact with those products as well as to choose from different lamps, chairs. You can move them around, you can switch different colors, fabrics, materials, and that is very much optimized for conversions. There's a clear call to action to continue your journey onto the website, visit the product pages, get more information. It's a first for us to run this as a paid campaign on Facebook. So we're still kind of very much looking at what that result looks like, but it's a really great way for us to measure that against some of the other conversion campaigns that we run. And if that proves more successful than other campaigns, then we'll definitely invest more into this.
And Stacey, I think you're going to come in, but also returns, I guess, is a big issue for retailers, isn't it? I can assume for pieces of furniture, it's even more expensive. So do you also see a world where AR helps decrease returns? I mean, a lot of people are talking about that for multiple retailers like Amazon and other, where it's 25% or more of the cost usually.
Yeah, I think with us, I think what would really help in the future as well is the new LiDAR technology that's available with iPhones to really get that scale right, because I think that's one of the things that we could really improve, and we do a really good role at the moment with kind of scale and size. There is obviously still an appetite to feel the product, and a lot of it is around texture. So that is kind of enhanced by really detailed photography on site, and we also have those 3D models available on site. So even if you're not placing them in your home, you can still interact with them, really zoom in. We haven't really measured if that impacts returns, but yeah, that's definitely something that we'll look into tracking.
Stacey, I know if you want to comment on this subject, but I do have a question for you in terms of verticals, because right now we have some specific ones here, but maybe talking about other verticals that are benefiting from AR on Instagram and Facebook, or what are maybe the top verticals? Things like beauty, makeup, I assume are big as well in terms of try-ons.
Yeah, so well, I'll quickly just add on to what Yulia was saying, and then I'll answer your question. Just anecdotally speaking, I know that we and Claudia mentioned as well, like the need to come into the store to measure and take measurements to make sure that something fits. Beyond that, I personally think that AR is great for furniture try-ons in home, because not only will you know if it fits, but you'll actually get a really good sense of what it actually looks like in your physical space, if it goes with your decor, if it kind of if it looks the way that you hope it would look if you came in store. So me personally, like that's something that I always struggle with, where I like go in store, take measurements, yes, it fits, and then I get it and I'm not convinced that it looks good where I am. So I do think, to your point with returns, this could help shorten, help alleviate that piece of friction, because people already have a general sense of what it looks like in their physical space. In terms of, to your point around what verticals, so when it comes to actual AR try-ons within Instagram, we've really nailed like face tracking. And so we've started with cosmetics and beauty AR try-ons as our first use case. We're gonna hopefully be expanding that out. And I'm talking specifically around the Instagram shops integration with AR. So we're looking at things like clothing try-ons that use body tracking, where people would be able to eventually try on jackets, shoes, and things like this. Being able to integrate furniture try-ons directly within AR shops. But beyond just the shop integration, we're seeing a lot of different verticals use AR as a way to connect with their customers, whether it's CPG brands like potato chip companies or crisp companies, I guess, as you say in the UK, building interactive games that use AR, such as segmentation, whether it's 3D modeling that isn't necessarily a try-on, where you can visualize like a really high definition image of a sneaker or a trainer or a shoe, and be able to examine it from all angles, even if you're not trying it on, having a much clearer idea of what a physical product looks like. So I really think it's all about creativity and figuring out how you as a brand can build a digital experience that helps you connect with people, either through gamification, through calls to action, through quizzes. I'm sure we've seen a lot of these face quizzes, like what Disney character are you? But I saw a really, really cool campaign that Bumble, the dating app, ran in France as they tried to get into the French market, where they were asking people questions about how they would prepare for a first date or things like this. And I mean, that's not a really obvious like retail experience, but it's more just thinking about like what kind of interactive experience can I do on Instagram or on Facebook that can at least, you know, give people a fun experience and build connection.
Thank you very much. With the time that we have left, I want to go into the future a little bit. So I always love that part of the discussion. I'm going to try to combine two questions we have from the audience into one. Might take a bit of time, and maybe answer a little bit myself. So one of them is predicting the future of AR besides try-on. So I think obviously big looming question around devices and going beyond the mobile phone. So Facebook is much more than what we've been talking about. It's also Oculus, and there are rumors, confirmed or not, that there are AR glasses coming out this year or next. You know, whether it has the full sort of fledged AR dream that we're all talking about or not, it is going into that direction. So there's one piece, which is AR the next computing platform? You know, does it provide visual search information? So we're going from a world where we used to type a lot and search for information, to voice activation, to visual search, where we're walking around and we're served contextual information based on location or visual identification of our environments. So that does change the game massively. I mean, let's stay within the retail environment. The second question was around how it affects the actual physical store, which is an interesting question, because we're talking a lot about at home and, you know, on Instagram itself, but how do these devices in the future, how does AR impact the actual physical experience? Who wants to take that on?
Sure, I can start taking that on. So to your point around devices and eventually pacing towards wearables, I think that is something that we're absolutely doing. We're currently investing in AR and mobile as a way to kind of just train consumers and train users and just make people, whether it's a user or a business, very familiar with AR and the power of AR, so that by the time new devices and wearables kind of become more commercially available, that hurdle will have been overcome, and people will already understand what an augmented reality experience can provide and how it's used. So it's kind of the bridge we need to cross is going from holding up your mobile device to a wearable device. With regards to glasses, I mean, we don't have a definitive timeline on anything, but we have signed a partnership at Facebook with Luxottica, the large glasses manufacturer. So we're super excited about the new possibilities that this presents. How I think this can change a retail experience. I mean, we don't know exactly what that looks like. I think a lot of this will come from seeing how retailers and brands and creators actually build experiences into the technology versus us dictating what that would look like. I personally would love to see, like myself as a consumer, I think it would be super cool, like when you're in a store and you're wearing AR glasses, that different promotions kind of come to life in front of you, where you can see special things that are on sale, whether or like different storytelling behind products. Like if you're in front of an expensive painting, to Sotheby's point, like being able to get some history on that and like really make a connection with the product by way of information. So I think there's so many possibilities on how we can make the bridge between a physical store and an augmented reality experience. I don't think it's all very dystopian where this will like replace the human interactions that we have, but I don't know. I'm really excited to see what this looks like going forward, and I guess we all are on this panel as well.
Yeah, agreed. I think the potential is huge. I think both within speaking for Sotheby's and beyond. I mean, I think what you were speaking to there, Stacey, about having sort of the artworks come to life is something that we would love to explore. So perhaps when people are allowed back in our galleries, they're able to raise their phone to the artwork and the artwork comes to life. We also have the most amazing specialists here who I mentioned earlier as well. And we really want to sort of put their voices at the heart of everything that we do, because they are experts in their field. They have such amazing things to say. So to be able to incorporate their voices into this kind of thing as well would be fantastic. I think there's a lot of potential. There was one thing I saw the other day that was really cool, actually, unrelated to Sotheby's, so I'm going off topic a little bit. But it was, I found it on LinkedIn. It was in celebration of the Year of the Ox. There was a pavilion in Malaysia. It's called Pavilion KL, I think it was, and there was an AR ox that was like a 3D AR design that like burst through the glass, and it was so cool. So I think there's so much to come. I'm really excited.
Definitely, and I think on our side, actually, we did explore this very briefly for this activation, but is similar to your point, is kind of almost holograms of people who are experts in that field. So for example, if somebody came into our store and they were really interested about the design history or the provenance of the piece, could we then have our design director talking through it, or could that person flick through the different color iterations of that, of that product and see all the different ways that they could take it home? So whilst, like we said before, there will always be a place for physical retail, I think it's going to be insanely, I don't think we can even imagine how experiential it will become, and that's what's so exciting about it.
Can I throw a couple ideas on? I was talking to some experts last week. I mean, it's more on the fashion side, I guess, but they were saying, well, first of all, the big spaces, the large, I mean, maybe different from Made because of the showroom space you need for furniture. But in terms of all the malls, I mean, we're seeing the impact in the US, massive amount of malls shutting down. And I guess in Europe, we don't have as many, so we're not as impacted, but all these huge areas are being shut down. So it's going to be more focused on the smaller experience, and it's going to become more experiential. But one of the experts was saying, okay, so maybe you're stepping into a store that's actually a studio, and there's capture and volumetric capture capability, and you're like scanning yourself and they're creating an avatar for you, and you're going back home and you have this avatar available for yourself, and it has all your measurements and all the data that you can then try on through AR, and then we step into VR a little bit, I guess, but you can then try on various different pieces of clothing. I mean, you can't touch it, to your point, Yulia, I think earlier, unless maybe you had sweatshirts or things like that. But yeah, that does change the experience a little bit from more of the technical capture side, helping the consumer step into the virtual world, which they can't maybe do on their own. So is that something at all that you're seeing maybe for Made in the future? I mean,
I think what would be interesting for us to explore is we have also this really amazing tool called Shop Your Photos. So it's available through the search functionality on our website. And you can connect your Pinterest account. It does visual recognition on your content and suggest similar products. What you can also do is either upload a photo or use your camera to scan something, and that then offers you product suggestions. So to combine that with AR would be so powerful. So imagine scanning your room and the tool detects the type of products and style that you're into and automatically suggest pieces, not necessarily to replace your sofa, but what do you need to complement it and to really fit in with your lifestyle. I think that's a really interesting way to kind of merge two really prominent industries.
yeah, great. And maybe one more example is if you're at home and you're struggling to put a piece together, then maybe you can have a hologram of someone from Made helping you put it back together. That's when you have the AR glasses or other. I think we're out of time, unless the panelists can stay on for a couple more minutes because we're still getting some questions. Otherwise, feel free.
Happy to stay on.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, no problem.
What are your main pain points with AR? I mean, we talked a little bit about 3D before, but are there any other ones in terms of, yeah, pain points around adopting AR within your company?
I think not so much pain points, but one thing I haven't mentioned yet is that we do actually have an AR sort of feature within our app as well, built into our app. So, for example, if you're looking through one of our catalogs and you see an artwork you like, it brings it up, probably much like Made, brings it up true to size, and you can pop it on your wall alongside your existing art collection, so you can see sort of how it would fit, which is a wonderful feature. I think at Sotheby's, just the volume of property that we have coming through. I mean, last year we had 561 auctions, which is an insane amount. So it's just a case of scaling this up to make sure that every item has that AR feature. I think it would be amazing if we could make that happen.
And just to rebound, there was a question around the volumetric capture piece. So how are you getting the photographs of those art pieces if they're at museums or galleries or at a private owners? And why can't you do volumetric if you're doing a photo, for example?
So we get our photographs when the property usually comes into Sotheby's. We've got in-house photographers who take pictures of everything. What was the question about volumetric?
Yeah, so if you're doing that, how is it possible to do volumetric, which is basically the dome of cameras, and get an actual 3D model created from volumetric, which might end up being more realistic than, you know, building a model from the ground up. But that does mean availability of that painting.
I mean, it's not something we've done before, so it's definitely something that we could consider in the future with a few things that we've got coming up. You'll have to watch this space. But yeah, we've got great photographers in-house, and we've got whole teams who are like the best in their field. So I'm sure they would be able to sort of help us with something like this. It's just not something that we've tried yet. So I'll get back to you.
To answer on that, you would need quite some space in order to be able to have a dome of 360 cameras all around the painting. So it's probably not something you'd do at the owner's house. It'd have to be.
Yeah, perhaps not at the house. Usually our large property comes into either our galleries at New Bond Street, where I am at the moment, or we've got a few warehouses around as well, which are super state of the art. They're very cool. So maybe we could work something out there.
I'm sure the insurance is quite expensive.
No comment.
For us, they're kind of modeled. We work with our bestsellers to make sure that they're always modeled up, and then it's sort of on a case by case. So we wouldn't model absolutely everything, but it's kind of done externally, and we'll scale it as necessary.
And not necessarily a pain point, but a challenge for us is to communicate that this is available, because not many people expect us, especially with a catalog this big, to have 3D models of our product that you can try in your home, or you can sort of like interact with on site. So we're looking at different UX tweaks that we can do to kind of really champion this, and icons that we can add, whether it's in the product listings pages or the product page itself, to prompt people to interact with this.
Okay. So in conclusion, is it safe to say that you're all sold on 3D AR? This is the beginning of a journey for some of you. It's the middle of the journey maybe for others, and you're excited to continue using it in your businesses.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think so. We had a lot of fun with Botticelli. I think probably, yeah, we're excited.
Great. Sorry you cut out for a little bit, Abigail, but
sorry.
Claudia, you were going to say something?
Yeah, I was going to say, it's definitely, I think the innovation that a lot of businesses have shown during this pandemic has just highlighted how much can be done in this digital space. So for us, I think as an innovator, we like to think we are always, one step ahead of the curve with digital stuff, being an online business. So for us, this is definitely where we'll keep looking for.
It's a question I got last time, but do you feel we're going to go back to our old worlds once everyone's vaccinated and COVID's over, if it's over? Do you think all the retail side and the consumerism is going to go back to what it was before? Or do you think all that digital adoption that you mentioned is here to stay and expand, basically? Stacey?
I think the rules of the game have changed like in 1 year. It's quite tremendous, both just across many aspects of life, even beyond retail. I mean, I think the way people work will change. The need for physical spaces like offices is going to change. It already has for many companies that have gone 100% remote. When it comes to shopping experiences, I think this year has been actually fantastic for this industry, for AR and for digital brands, because it's allowed us to play to our strengths and allow people to imagine different possibilities and get people to adopt and buy into AR experiences more out of need for innovative experiences that reach people at home. So I think it's actually done us a tremendous service in that now there's many brands that are trying AR for the first time and really getting excited about it and investing in it because we're in such a different world. And so I don't think we'll be going back. I'm sure many aspects of the old world will come back. As many of our panelists have said, I think physical retail will always remain, but just the way people interact with brands will change. That is my prediction.
Yeah. If you think about the QR code, the humble QR code, and you think about how quick people were to adopt it again, I feel like it's going to be something like that, where people have got so used to adopting new technologies that it will be accelerated like tenfold.
Absolutely. We don't have time for ethics and data and all of that, but definitely there are ramifications around that. So it'll be a theme for another panel, and hopefully you can join me as well next time as we talk about that. So yeah, I really want to thank all of you, Abigail, Yulia, Claudia, Stacey, for accepting to talk to us today and share your experiences with 3D AR. Thank you, Charlie, for the presentation. We'll be sharing all of that. Thanks, Christina, for helping produce the event. And yeah, we'll share the recording after this. Thanks again for joining us. I know there's Zoom fatigue, so hopefully this was useful, informational to everyone watching. Have a great evening.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
This was a lot of fun. Thank you. Have a nice afternoon. Bye.